The video for May 19th, 2017 is entitled Coffee Talk with Steve and Friends. It's really early as I sit here pondering what to talk about today. I decided to wait until later in the day to record, after I meet with Steve and Friends. That's what I wrote very early this morning, like 4 a.m. It's now in the afternoon. It's pushing on to 1:30. I just got back a little bit ago, and I wrote, well, we had our meeting. As usual, lots of subjects came up, and not everyone agreed on some points. I do think we all agree that there is an awakening occurring, although for me at least, it's not happening fast enough. Yes, part of that is due to my uncertainty as to how long I have left. I want to be part of the vital changes necessary to redeem humanity from the clutches of the evil machinations of human and non-human beings who, as I see it, have malicious intent. When the intent is to strip us of our freedoms, whether by brainwashing or something more invasive, there can be no positive outcome. Control of this planet must not be left to the criminal element, often referred to as the elite establishment. Indeed, it sounds to me like I'm harping on the same old thing, but the discussion did bring out some things. One of the people actually believes and sees Russia as the villain. Of course, this individual, I believe, tends to look a lot at mainstream media, which Steve doesn't do and I don't do, and I'm not sure about everybody that had input. But in any case, Russia, to me, is the hope, and that's what Edgar Cayce said in readings going back into the 1940s. He was giving readings that Russia, not the Bolsheviks, not the communists, but out of Russia would come the hope of the world. And of course, Anastasia followed the Vladimir Megra story of Anastasia, not the Tsar's daughter or relative, but the Anastasia who was the recluse in Siberia, whom I've made several videos about over the course of the time, over the past several years. And Russia has been transformed. I do believe Putin had a spiritual awakening, which doesn't make him a villain, like people would get the idea if they only get their news from mainstream media that he's some kind of a villain that's out to do terrible things to the world. The United States and Israel are the villains. The British Commonwealth is what's left of it is a villain. The military-industrial complex, controlled by an elite establishment of pedophiles and warmongers, that's the threat that we face. That's what stands in our way of having a world that actually works for everybody and uplifts us. There is no overpopulation. I just listened to Noam Chomsky, I believe that's how you say his name, and he was saying the most serious institution on earth is the Republicans. No, it's the corporate government that's the problem. It's corporations that think that their whole thing is to make a profit and to be in control. And everything is based on profitability and control. This is a false paradigm. It's always been a false paradigm. It doesn't matter how many intellectuals go there. It's a false paradigm. There are technologies, as we discussed in the group today, there are technologies that are finally becoming a little bit more well-known that maybe will help us shift into at least the removal of some of the limitations that have been imposed on us through the brainwashing techniques and through our food and through our water and the air and of course through the indoctrination that we've had to live under for such a long time. This has to change. And I think that we all in the group agreed that there has to be changes in this area. And no, Russia's not the problem. And I don't know that China is the problem, especially if the grandfather is given some ability to actually make some decisions. If you're going back to the ancient genealogy of the wisdom of the Chinese elders, yes, communism interfered there too, but I believe there's changes taking place there, and there's changes, of course, have taken place with Putin, and they're taking place in Russia. Is Russia perfect? Is China perfect? No, there's nothing on earth that's perfect at this point in time, and maybe there never will be anything that's perfect, as in not having any fallibility, not having any problems. There's always going to be problems if there's free will, and we have to have free will if we're going to grow. If we don't have free will, what's the sense in the whole thing? What point is there to create a species of robots that simply do what they're programmed to do and follow a path that they're programmed to follow? No, we have to have freedom. Freedom is our destiny. Freedom is our heritage. Freedom is intrinsic to our very nature. And to remove that, which the cabal has been trying to do, to remove that is an affront to everything that's honorable and decent and prevents loving. I mean, how can it be loving to wish the annihilation of any race or any nationality or any grouping of human beings? How can that be loving? It's never loving. You know, people have to have the right to make choices, but we have to be given a level playing field, which we have not been given, and something, God, somebody, some power has to take responsibility for leveling the playing field. And I do believe that Steve and I see that happening, and others in the group, of course, see it happening, that there is a leveling going on and people are waking up. And this is a good thing. But we have to get out of the delusionary thinking that the corporations are going to fix anything. Corporations are the problem, not the solution. And you and I are human. We are not corporations. But corporations, by law, cannot do business with human beings. That's the way it's set up. That's why they make us, they demote us from being human to being a corporate citizen, supposedly. And citizen is an anomaly too. It doesn't mean what we think it means. It's been a part of a brainwashing campaign to deceive us and to lead us astray so that we don't become the best we can be, because that leaves the cabal in power longer and prolongs the agony of humans on the earth who are becoming more and more enslaved, and worse, many aren't even aware of it yet. Thank God, as I mentioned in the conversation at the coffee talk, even when I talk to some of the elderly people that I meet, when I mention that the United States has been led astray, there's so many people that get that now. Yes, we're getting it. That the leaders of our governments do not have human best interest at heart. We need, if we're going to become well, and if we're going to become healthy, we need a transition from the old to the new, and the old paradigm needs to be taken down, and the new paradigm put in place as rapidly as possible. It can't happen overnight, I don't believe, but it needs to happen more rapidly than what it's been happening so far, in my opinion. So anyway, these are some of the ramblings that are the outcome of that coffee talk this morning with Steve and friends. And I thank you folks for listening, and namaste.